happy on the side of proposition to call China you to stop being red and adopt all of the rainbow colors. We think that it would be helpful for China both in the international arena and both in the internal arena. I would give you two clashes in this debate. One would address, yeah, I know, two was hard. So the first would be about the leverage that China would gain in the international arena by adopting this policy, and the second would be the internal stability that it would gain as well. Now, few points of rebuttal. First, Russia, Iran, Africa, and some other allies of China. Notice that while those countries do care that they won't have gay marriage, they do not really care about other countries having gay marriage. Moreover, you definitely ignored Monica, who told you, and actually you already whispered to me as well, that Russia is more dependent on China, that China is dependent on Africa, Iran, Russia, or either one of the others. Therefore, we don't think it's important. So we don't think Russia really cares, but you know what? We don't think China really cares what Russia thinks as well. And therefore we think that, as Amos told us, who is not cooperating with China, right? So, second point. Here from the wrong decisions and about horny men being angry and stuff. So, hypothetical So, we have a lot of men in China. Let's say the ratio is 2 to 1. Let's say 10% of the population is homosexual. That means we're gonna get a lot more male couples than female couples. That means that we're actually helping people to find women. We think this is actually, even though extremely ridiculous, is mathematically true. Thank God for math in the technion. So, third, about this not being important. We do know that there are different, more important things in China. But the point is, as Monica told us, that China is not willing to change most of these things. They're not willing to change their relations with Tibet. They're not willing to stop violating human rights so fast, up to bottom and other stuff. And therefore we think this is a good distraction, as Monica told you, which allows them leverage on the West. Let's go to that. So let's start with international leverage. So we got from first proposition a very good case about a message argument that they are open for business and inconsistency of the West liberal democracies. But we got most of the response we got from first up was this is playing their game, the West game, again lacking the semi-final, no normative value for what is wrong with playing their game. But what Monica gave you here is the most important thing in the international arena, because most of the problem that China have today is in the international arena, because as Shahar told us, there are 1,000 demonstrations and they don't care. There is no revolution. They can oppress those revolutions. So what they do care is, first of all, the external international arena. So what Monica told you. China has problems. We all know that. We must admit that's the first step. So they have a problem with Tibet, they have a problem with Muslims, they have a problem with human rights. And the most international pressure there is on China is about the case of human rights. That's why people thought about boycotting the Olympics in China. This is why people fear of trading with China and so on. But as long as those violations of human rights are comprehensive, that gives a leverage to the West to say, you are inferior to us, you're not liberal as us. But once, as the info slide told you, they have the leverage to do what no other Western, well, not many Western liberal democracies do, then this is pretty difficult for, well, let's say, well, where is United States say, well, you're not liberalized enough, because they can say, well, you're not liberalized enough, right? So once it's not comprehensive, it gives a lot of leverage for the Chinese to keep violating human rights where it wants and not doing it where it doesn't want. It gives them the ability to respond to what the West says and say, you're not more liberal than us. This is important because this is the leverage that the West has today on China. So even this is a small step, it is a crucial step that gives a lot of leverage to China. Before my second point, yes, Shalom.
Listen, people are not stupid. They're not going to think, oh, they're good with gays, so the bigger issues are suddenly less important and we forget about them.
I never claimed people were stupid. I just said this is leverage. If you're fighting for human rights, you cannot come and demand human rights when you're not giving them, and they do. So this is pretty important. So now, let's go to other things. So we've got the whole case about stability from basically everyone in this debate. Let's say this was also a major clash here. Because first what we got is it's illegitimate. It's not what the Chinese people want. I'm not really sure that's what the Communist Party thinks about, but, well, you know, let's go with them. We've been told they're conservative, lacking Israel in religion and other stuff. And what we told was very specific. There is nothing in Chinese, well, not religion, but in Chinese culture against same-sex marriage. As Monica told us, it's even embedded in their culture, in arts and in archaeological findings. But moreover, we think we got the whole thing about the bottom up or the up to bottom. And they told us this is too much of a change. No. Sorry. And first, Alon himself told us that they are liberalizing personal freedoms today. So we don't think this is a big change. This is consistent with their policy. Second, we think that they did quite big changes, like land reforms, like one-child policy, the things that they changed in the third plenum of China. Thank God for reading the economists from time to time. So they do radical reforms every time, and there is no revolution in China in the last, well, let's say 20 years. What Monica gave you here was very specific, is that what people want is stability in the family structure. They want somebody to live with, they want somebody to love. And in this case, they do not appreciate in the Chinese culture promiscuous behavior. People being in clubs and cheating and having promiscuous sex with a lot of people. They appreciate people living in their family structures, in their cells, doing their everyday life. And this is most important in their culture, because what they want is some kind of equality, some kind of stability. And therefore we think that people can rally around this cause. So what I gave you was two things. It's a good leverage against the West, and it's a good thing to increase stability. For those reasons, we call you to propose.